Imagine moving into your dream home, only to discover it's haunted by something far more terrifying than you ever imagined. Doors slam on their own, children hear whispers from the dark, and chilling shadows lurk around every corner. This is the true story of the Amityville Horror, where fear isn't just in your mind, it's in the walls. It was November 13th, 1974. In a quiet neighborhood on Long Island, New York, something unspeakable happened that would shock the nation. The DeFeo family home, a classic colonial-style house with neatly trimmed lawns and quiet streets, became the scene of one of the most gruesome crimes in American history. Ronald DeFeo Jr., a troubled man with a dark past, entered his own home and shot his entire family while they slept, his parents and 4 siblings. By morning, the house was drenched in blood. Neighbors whispered, police scrambled, and journalists flooded the area. No one could understand how this nightmare unfolded. For months afterward, the house remained vacant. Children were warned to stay away, adults avoided looking at it, and some even crossed the street rather than pass by. But life has a strange way of tempting people toward danger. In December 1975, George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, Daniel, Christopher, and little Missy, decided to move in. They believed they could reclaim the house, start fresh, and build happy memories. Neither George nor Kathy knew they were stepping into a waking nightmare. The first few days were ordinary. Boxes were unpacked, curtains hung, and laughter filled the air. The children ran through the halls, chasing each other in playful games. George smiled, proud of the family he had built. But by the 3rd night, strange things began. It started subtly, an eerie chill in the hallway, a low creaking sound when no one was walking, and the soft slam of doors. The family would wake up disoriented, feeling as if the air itself was watching them. Kathy began noticing that the bedsheets were pulled off at night. Toys were scattered across the living room floor in the morning, even though the children swore they had gone to bed with everything neatly placed. One night, Kathy woke with a start. The air in the bedroom was ice cold. Her breath puffed like smoke in front of her face. A faint green glow hovered in the corner near the door. She sat up, heart pounding, and saw it. A twisted face, pale and slimy, staring back at her. Before she could scream, the light vanished. When George was woken up by Kathy's screams, he ran into the room. Nothing was there, but the cold remained. Soon the family began to feel watched. George, once confident, now avoided walking alone through the dark hallways. He claimed that he could feel eyes on him. He installed extra locks on doors, but they were found wide open the next morning. Kathy's anxiety spiraled. She began sleeping with the lights on. Daniel would wake screaming that something was whispering to him. "It's calling me. It wants me to go to the basement," he'd cry, tears streaming down his face. Missy, only 5, started sleepwalking. On one terrifying night, she walked to the front door, opened it, and stood staring at the pitch-black street as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. Christopher would cling to his bed, refusing to leave his room after dark. He claimed that unseen hands would brush past him in the night. The supernatural events intensified. Red stains, dark and sticky, appeared along the walls of the bedrooms. They resembled blood, but would mysteriously disappear when touched, only to return by morning. Furniture shook violently. Chairs would topple over with no one near them. One night, George awoke to the sound of the living room coffee table sliding across the floor toward him. Frozen with fear, he watched it move inch by inch until it slammed into the wall. Temperature drops became extreme. Experts later confirmed that certain rooms would plummet to near freezing levels, even when heating systems ran full blast. The walls themselves seemed to pulse, as if breathing. The family reported hearing scratching noises coming from behind them. At times, the air would thicken with the smell of decay, like something rotting in the vents. Daniel and Christopher began speaking in voices not their own. Daniel's tone would shift into something guttural and animalistic. "You're mine," it would whisper. Christopher, normally quiet and sweet, would freeze mid-sentence, eyes rolled back, hands twitching like he was being controlled. One night, while recording on a tape recorder, the family captured something chilling, an unnatural growl, followed by distorted whispers. Experts would later analyze the recording and say it wasn't human. The children begged their parents not to go into certain rooms. The dark corner by the stairs, "It's watching us," they whispered. "It's hungry." George's nights became unbearable. He would wake up choking, gasping for air. He described a crushing force pressing against his chest, holding him down. On one occasion, he tried to shout for help, but his throat locked. He lay paralyzed in fear while the oppressive presence loomed over him. Lights would flicker wildly at night. Clocks stopped at 3:15 a.m. every single time. George began scribbling notes, trying to make sense of the horror, but fear overtook reason. Experts were called in. Paranormal investigators arrived with instruments to measure electromagnetic fields, temperature shifts, and sound frequencies. During a séance, questions were asked aloud. "Who's here?" The room grew cold. Daniel's eyes went wide, and his jaw twitched uncontrollably. His voice dropped to a low, gravelly growl. A distorted voice spoke, "Get out!" The investigators gasped. George, pale and shaking, whispered, Who is it?" The voice snarled again, louder, angrier. Kathy sobbed. "We can't stay here." Word spread quickly. Neighbors began locking their doors early, afraid of what might be lurking inside. Some claimed they saw strange green lights flickering behind the curtains. Others reported hearing eerie wails in the night, as if the house itself cried out. Children were warned not to go near the property. Even the bravest adults crossed the street rather than pass by. The police investigated, but found no intruder, no structural faults, and no explanation for the strange noises. Doctors recommended counseling and therapy, but those closest to the family saw the fear in their eyes and knew something else was at play. After just 28 days, the family could endure no more. George and Kathy, hearts broken, packed up what they could and fled the home in the dead of night. They left everything behind, the furniture, the memories, the nightmares. In the car, Kathy sobbed uncontrollably. George sat gripping the steering wheel, his hands trembling as Daniel clung to Christopher, and Missy cried quietly in the back seat. The house, dark and silent once again, loomed in the rearview mirror as they drove away, an empty shell, but one still pulsing with malevolence. The Amityville Horror became a household name. Movies were made, books written, documentaries broadcast. Some say the story was exaggerated, others say it was a tragic psychological breakdown. But the recordings, the temperature drops, the inexplicable bruises, the terrified children, those remain undeniable. Was the house haunted by restless spirits? Was it a dark energy feeding on fear and grief? Or was it the house itself, alive and hungry? No matter the truth, one thing is certain. The name Amityville still evokes dread. Even decades later, people shudder at the thought of sleeping in those walls. The fear feels real, the horror palpable. So, what do you think? Was it a haunted house? A psychological breakdown fueled by tragedy? Or something far more sinister, something that feeds on fear and helplessness? If you've ever wondered what it's like to face something beyond explanation, the Amityville Horror might just be the story that keeps you awake at night. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a chilling tale. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you dare spend a night in the Amityville house? We'd love to hear from you, because sometimes the scariest places aren't deep in the woods or in faraway lands. They're right next door.